Dr. Elena Rodriguez had always preferred the company of ancient texts to modern conversations. At 28, she was the youngest professor in Stanford University's Department of Anthropology, yet she remained virtually invisible on campus. Students often mistook her for a graduate student as she hurried between the library stacks, her arms full of weathered books and her dark hair perpetually escaping from a loose bun. Elena's office sat tucked away in the basement of the Margaret Jacks Hall, a cramped space filled with towering shelves of archaeological journals and replica artifacts. The single small window offered only a view of passing sneakers and bicycle wheels. She had chosen this location deliberately. Fewer interruptions meant more time to focus on her true passion, deciphering the remaining mysteries of Maya hieroglyphics. Born to Mexican immigrants in East Los Angeles, Elena had discovered her calling during a high school field trip to the Getty Museum. Standing before a display of Maya artifacts, she felt an inexplicable connection to the intricate symbols carved into stone tablets. Her grandmother had often spoken of their indigenous roots, but Elena had never imagined those stories would shape her entire life's work. The academic world had not always been welcoming. During her undergraduate years at UCLA, professors questioned whether a first-generation college student could truly understand ancient civilizations. Their skepticism only fueled Elena's determination. She graduated summa cum laude, earned her PhD from Harvard at 25, and published groundbreaking research on Maya astronomical calculations that caught Stanford's attention. Now, 3 years into her tenure-track position, Elena lived a solitary existence. Her colleagues respected her work, but found her difficult to approach. She ate lunch alone in her office, attended faculty meetings only when required, and rarely spoke unless directly questioned. The few attempts at friendship had failed when Elena's social anxiety made casual conversation feel like navigating a minefield. Her research focused on a collection of Maya codices housed in Stanford's restricted archives. These bark paper books, created centuries ago by Maya scribes, contained astronomical tables, ritual calendars, and historical records. Most had been partially deciphered, but several pages remained stubbornly mysterious. Elena had been working on one particular codex for 2 years, making little progress despite her expertise. The Codex Serpentino, as she had named it, featured unusual symbol combinations that didn't follow typical Maya writing patterns. Previous scholars had dismissed it as damaged or corrupted, but Elena sensed something deeper. The mathematical sequences seemed too precise for random damage, and the recurring serpent motif appeared throughout with deliberate placement. Elena's methodology differed from her colleagues. While they focused on linguistic analysis, she incorporated her grandmother's stories and indigenous knowledge passed down through generations. This approach had proven successful before, revealing hidden meanings in astronomical texts that purely academic interpretations missed. Working late one November evening, Elena sat surrounded by printouts and reference books. The building was empty except for the occasional security guard making rounds. She preferred these quiet hours when her anxiety subsided and she could think clearly. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as she traced symbols with her finger, searching for patterns. Her breakthrough began with a simple observation. While reviewing photographs of the codex under different lighting conditions, Elena noticed faint markings between the main text lines. These weren't visible to the naked eye but appeared clearly in infrared imaging. The hidden marks seemed to form their own writing system, layered beneath the primary text. Elena's heart raced as she realized what she was seeing. The Maya scribes hadn't just written on the bark paper. They had encoded multiple layers of information using different materials that showed up under specific lighting conditions. It was like discovering a secret message hidden in plain sight for over 1,000 years. She spent the next week carefully documenting every hidden mark, using various photographic techniques to reveal the full extent of the concealed writing. The patterns that emerged defied everything known about Maya record-keeping. Instead of the typical historical and astronomical content, these hidden texts appeared to contain detailed geographical information and what looked like mathematical formulas far more advanced than anything attributed to pre-Columbian civilizations. Elena's excitement was tempered by caution. Such claims would face enormous skepticism from the archaeological community. Young scholars, especially women and minorities, were often dismissed when they proposed revolutionary interpretations. She needed irrefutable evidence before sharing her discovery. The hidden text referenced specific locations using a coordinate system that corresponded to actual geographical features across Central America. Elena cross-referenced these coordinates with satellite imagery and found they marked areas of particular archaeological interest, some already excavated, others completely unknown to modern researchers. More intriguingly, the mathematical formulas seemed to predict astronomical events with extraordinary precision. Elena ran the calculations through modern computer programs and found they accurately predicted solar eclipses, planetary alignments, and other celestial phenomena centuries into the past and future. The level of mathematical sophistication suggested the Maya possessed knowledge that historians claimed they couldn't have had. As Elena delved deeper into the hidden text, she began to suspect this wasn't just another historical record. The symbols seemed to describe a systematic approach to encoding and preserving knowledge that could survive the destruction of civilizations. The serpent motif appeared to represent wisdom or knowledge that must be protected and passed down through generations. Elena's world began to shift as she realized she might have stumbled upon evidence of an ancient knowledge preservation system more sophisticated than anything previously imagined. The shy scholar who had spent years working in isolation suddenly found herself sitting on a discovery that could rewrite archaeological textbooks, but Elena's natural caution held her back from immediately sharing her findings. She had learned to trust her instincts, and something about this discovery felt different, bigger and potentially more dangerous than typical academic research. The mathematical precision and geographical accuracy suggested the Maya possessed capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about pre-Columbian civilizations. As winter settled over Stanford's campus, Elena continued her solitary work, unaware that her discovery would soon thrust her into a world far removed from the safety of her basement office. The hidden knowledge she was unveiling had been concealed for good reason, and forces beyond the academic world were about to take notice of the shy scholar who preferred ancient texts to human company. Elena's discovery began attracting attention in ways she hadn't anticipated. While meticulously documenting the hidden text, she had submitted routine digital imaging requests to Stanford's Advanced Archaeological Technology Lab. The lab's director, Dr. James Morrison, was known for his discretion, but even he couldn't hide his surprise when Elena's infrared scans revealed the multi-layered writing. Morrison knocked on Elena's office door on a rainy December morning, his expression unusually serious. Elena looked up from her computer, where she had been running astronomical calculations based on the hidden Maya formulas. She gestured toward the single chair across from her desk, noting Morrison's fidgeting hands and the way he kept glancing at her monitor. Morrison had worked with dozens of researchers over his 15-year career, but Elena's discovery represented something unprecedented. The technical sophistication required to create invisible text that could only be revealed through modern imaging technology suggested the Maya possessed knowledge that shouldn't have existed in their time period. He asked Elena direct questions about her methodology and findings, his scientific skepticism warring with the undeniable evidence on her computer screen. Elena found herself in the uncomfortable position of explaining research that she herself was still struggling to understand. The hidden text wasn't just advanced mathematics and geographical coordinates. It contained references to astronomical phenomena that wouldn't be visible from Central America for another 300 years. The implications challenged basic assumptions about Maya knowledge and capabilities. Morrison suggested Elena present her preliminary findings to a small group of trusted colleagues before going public. Elena's anxiety spiked at the thought of presenting to anyone, but she recognized the wisdom in seeking peer review. They scheduled a private meeting for the following week with 3 senior faculty members known for their discretion and expertise in pre-Columbian studies. Elena spent the intervening days preparing a presentation that would communicate her findings without revealing the full extent of what she had discovered. She instinctively felt the need to hold back certain information, though she couldn't articulate why. Her grandmother had always warned about sharing sacred knowledge with those who might misuse it, and Elena found herself remembering those conversations as she prepared her materials. The presentation took place in Morrison's lab, away from the main campus building. The 3 professors, Dr. Sarah Chen, Dr. Robert Williams, and Dr. Maria Santos, represented decades of combined experience in Maya studies. Elena had admired their work from a distance, but had never interacted with them personally. Her hands trembled slightly as she began her presentation, clicking through images of the original codex and the hidden text revealed through infrared imaging. Dr. Chen interrupted Elena's presentation within the first 10 minutes, asking pointed questions about authentication and methodology. Elena had anticipated such skepticism and had prepared extensive documentation proving the text's authenticity. She showed comparison images, chemical analysis of the inks used, and carbon dating results that confirmed the codex's age. Dr. Williams focused on the mathematical content, running calculations on his tablet as Elena presented the astronomical formulas. His expression grew increasingly troubled as he verified the accuracy of predictions that extended far beyond what Maya astronomers should have been capable of calculating. The formulas didn't just predict celestial events, they described relationships between planetary movements and terrestrial phenomena that modern science was only beginning to understand. Dr. Santos, who specialized in Maya writing systems, examined the linguistic elements of the hidden text. She noted that while the symbols followed Maya grammatical structures, they incorporated elements that didn't appear in any other known Maya writing. The complexity suggested a deliberate attempt to create a specialized encoding system that could preserve information across centuries. The meeting stretched into the evening as the professors grappled with the implications of Elena's discovery. Dr. Chen raised concerns about the potential impact on established Maya chronologies and cultural interpretations. If the hidden text was authentic, and the evidence suggested it was, then scholars had fundamentally misunderstood Maya capabilities and knowledge systems. Elena noticed a shift in the room's atmosphere as the professors began to grasp the full scope of her discovery. What had begun as academic curiosity evolved into something more intense. Dr. Williams asked specific questions about the geographical coordinates and whether Elena had verified any of the locations. When Elena confirmed that several coordinates matched known archaeological sites, Williams exchanged meaningful glances with his colleagues. Dr. Santos inquired about Elena's future research plans and publication timeline. Elena explained her intention to continue analysis before publishing anything, emphasizing her commitment to rigorous methodology. The professor suggested she consider collaborating with international experts, particularly researchers in Guatemala and Mexico, who might provide cultural context for her findings. Elena sensed undercurrents in the conversation that she didn't fully understand. The professors seemed excited by her discovery, but also concerned about something they weren't explicitly discussing. Dr. Chen mentioned the need for careful handling of culturally sensitive material, while Dr. Williams talked about potential international complications if the coordinates led to new archaeological discoveries. As the meeting concluded, Elena felt simultaneously validated and uneasy. Her colleagues had confirmed the significance of her work, but their reactions suggested implications beyond pure academic interest. Morrison offered additional lab resources for her continued research, while the professors emphasized the importance of discretion until publication. Walking back to her office through the empty campus, Elena reflected on the evening's discussions. Her discovery had transformed from a personal research project into something that commanded respect and attention from senior colleagues. Yet, their questions and concerns raised new uncertainties about the path forward. Elena's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Your work on the Maya Codex is remarkable. We should talk." The message included no identification or explanation, just a phone number with a DC area code. Elena stared at the screen, wondering how anyone outside Stanford knew about her research. The presentation had been private, and she hadn't discussed her work with anyone beyond the lab team. Back in her office, Elena found herself questioning decisions that had seemed straightforward hours earlier. The hidden Maya text had revealed information that challenged historical understanding, but now she wondered whether some knowledge was meant to remain hidden. Her grandmother's stories about protecting sacred wisdom took on new relevance as Elena contemplated the growing attention her discovery was attracting. Elena decided to ignore the mysterious text message and focus on her research. She had uncovered something extraordinary. But she was beginning to realize that extraordinary discoveries came with extraordinary complications. The shy scholar who preferred solitude was about to learn that some secrets were too big to keep hidden in a basement office. Elena couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. 3 days had passed since the mysterious text message, and subtle changes in her routine seemed to confirm her suspicions. The usual security guard had been replaced by someone she didn't recognize, and unfamiliar faces appeared in the library areas where she conducted research. Her paranoia felt irrational, yet her instincts insisted something had changed. The breakthrough that would alter everything came while Elena was analyzing the final section of hidden text. Using a new imaging technique that Morrison had suggested, she discovered a third layer of information embedded within the codex. This deepest level didn't contain writing at all. Instead, it featured precise geometric patterns that formed complex mathematical diagrams. Elena traced the patterns with growing excitement and apprehension. The geometric designs weren't random decorations, but detailed technical drawings that appeared to describe mechanical devices and energy systems. The level of sophistication rivaled modern engineering diagrams, featuring precise measurements and component specifications that suggested advanced technological understanding. One diagram particularly caught Elena's attention. It depicted what appeared to be a crystalline structure surrounded by specific mineral arrangements and astronomical alignments. The accompanying mathematical notations described energy frequencies and resonance patterns that aligned with cutting-edge quantum physics research. Elena found herself staring at what looked like instructions for building some kind of advanced energy device. Elena's academic training warred with the evidence before her eyes. The Maya civilization was known for impressive architectural and astronomical achievements, but nothing in the historical record suggested they possessed knowledge of quantum mechanics or advanced energy systems. Yet the mathematical precision of the diagrams left little room for alternative interpretations. She decided to consult with Dr. Jennifer Liu, a physics professor who had occasionally collaborated with the archaeology department on interdisciplinary projects. Elena respected Liu's analytical mind and hoped she might provide insight into the technical aspects of the diagrams without revealing the full context of the discovery. Elena approached Liu during office hours, carrying printouts of selected geometric patterns while leaving out the Maya context. She presented them as theoretical mathematical constructs she had encountered in historical research, asking for Liu's opinion on their potential applications. Liu studied the diagrams with growing interest, noting the sophisticated understanding of wave mechanics and energy transformation they represented. Liu's analysis confirmed Elena's suspicions. The diagrams described functional energy systems based on principles that modern science was only beginning to explore. The geometric arrangements matched theoretical models for zero-point energy harvesting and quantum field manipulation that existed mainly in advanced physics journals. Liu asked detailed questions about the source of the diagrams, but Elena deflected with vague references to historical mathematical texts. Elena left Liu's office with her mind reeling. The Maya hadn't just preserved advanced astronomical knowledge, they had documented technological information that could revolutionize modern energy systems. The implications extended far beyond archaeological significance into realms of national security and global economics. That evening, Elena worked late in her office, photographing and cataloging every detail of the geometric patterns. She had begun to understand why the knowledge had been hidden in multiple layers of encoding. Information this powerful would have attracted attention from forces that might have destroyed the entire civilization to control. Yet Elena's concentration was broken by footsteps in the hallway outside her office. The building should have been empty at this hour, but she distinctly heard voices approaching her door. Elena quickly closed her laptop and gathered the most sensitive documents, sliding them into a concealed folder behind other papers. A knock interrupted her preparations. Elena opened the door to find two individuals she didn't recognize, a woman in a business suit and a man wearing casual academic attire. They introduced themselves as representatives from a private research foundation interested in funding Maya studies. Their timing and knowledge of her work felt too coincidental to be innocent. The woman, who identified herself as Dr. Amanda Foster, asked specific questions about Elena's recent discoveries while the man, introduced as Dr. Marcus Thompson, examined the artifacts displayed around her office. Elena provided general information about her research while avoiding details about the hidden text and geometric patterns. Dr. Foster mentioned their foundation's interest in supporting young researchers working on breakthrough discoveries. She offered Elena substantial funding for expanded research, including access to advanced laboratory facilities and international collaboration opportunities. The offer was generous beyond anything Elena had encountered in academic circles, which only increased her suspicions about their true motives. Elena politely declined their immediate offer, explaining her preference for completing her current analysis before considering new partnerships. Dr. Foster left her business card with a private number, emphasizing their continued interest in Elena's work and suggesting they remain in contact as her research progressed. After they left, Elena sat alone in her office, realizing her discovery had attracted attention from sources beyond academic circles. The geometric patterns she had uncovered represented knowledge that could transform modern technology and energy systems. Groups with sufficient resources to track her research and make substantial funding offers were likely motivated by more than scholarly curiosity. Elena began to understand the weight of responsibility that came with her discovery. The Maya scribes had gone to extraordinary lengths to preserve this knowledge while ensuring it remained hidden from those who might misuse it. The multi-layered encoding system wasn't just clever preservation, it was protection against exploitation. Elena made a difficult decision. Rather than continuing to document everything, she would be selective about what information she preserved and shared. Some knowledge might be too dangerous for the modern world, especially if it attracted interest from groups with unknown agendas. Her grandmother's warnings about protecting sacred wisdom now carried immediate relevance. She began creating multiple backup copies of her research while carefully controlling what information was included in each version. Elena developed a coding system of her own, inspired by the Maya approach but adapted for digital security. The most sensitive information about energy systems and technological applications would remain accessible only to her. Elena's phone buzzed with another message from the unknown DC number. "Your visitors tonight were just the beginning. Others are coming. The knowledge you found needs protection." The message included coordinates that Elena recognized from the hidden Maya text, specific locations that the ancient scribes had marked as significant. Elena stared at the message, realizing that someone else understood the true significance of her discovery. Whether this unknown contact represented friend or foe remained unclear, but their knowledge of the Maya coordinates suggested they possessed information that could help Elena understand what she had truly uncovered. The shy scholar who had spent years working in isolation now found herself at the center of a complex web involving ancient secrets and modern power struggles. Elena's discovery had revealed not just historical knowledge, but active information that others were willing to pursue aggressively. The basement office that had once felt like a safe haven now seemed increasingly vulnerable to forces that Elena was only beginning to comprehend. Elena decided to respond to the mysterious messages. Against her better judgment, she texted back asking for more information about the coordinates and who was sending these warnings. The response came within minutes. "Meet me at the campus coffee shop tomorrow at 3 p.m. Come alone. Bring nothing electronic. Your discovery is part of something much larger." Elena spent a sleepless night weighing her options. Every rational instinct told her to ignore the message and focus on her research, but the specific knowledge this person had shown about her work suggested they possessed information she needed. The coordinates they had referenced weren't just random numbers. They pointed to locations that the Maya text had specifically marked with symbols indicating great importance. The next afternoon, Elena arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early, choosing a corner table where she could observe everyone who entered. The campus location felt safe, surrounded by students and faculty going about their normal routines. Elena ordered coffee she didn't want and waited, studying every face that passed through the entrance. At exactly 3 p.m., a woman approached Elena's table. She appeared to be in her 40s with silver-streaked black hair and indigenous features that reminded Elena of her own grandmother. The woman introduced herself simply as Carmen, and sat down without ordering anything. Her direct gaze and confident manner suggested someone accustomed to handling dangerous situations. Carmen began speaking in a low voice that required Elena to lean forward to hear clearly. She explained that Elena's discovery was not the first time the hidden Maya knowledge had been uncovered. Throughout history, various scholars and researchers had found pieces of the concealed information, and each discovery had attracted attention from groups seeking to exploit the ancient technology for modern purposes. Carmen revealed that she represented a network of indigenous researchers and scholars dedicated to protecting ancestral knowledge from exploitation. They had been monitoring Elena's work since her imaging requests first revealed the multi-layered text. The geometric patterns Elena had discovered were particularly sensitive because they provided actual instructions for building advanced energy systems. Elena listened with growing amazement as Carmen described a hidden history of technological suppression and knowledge protection. The Maya hadn't been unique in possessing advanced understanding. Many ancient civilizations had developed sophisticated technologies that were deliberately hidden or destroyed to prevent misuse. The knowledge survived only in carefully encoded formats that required specific cultural understanding. To interpret correctly, Carmen explained that the coordinates in the hidden text didn't just mark archaeological sites. They identified locations where additional technological information was stored in forms that modern science was only beginning to recognize. Some sites contained crystalline structures that stored information in quantum formats, while others housed artifacts that functioned as keys to unlock deeper levels of encoded knowledge. The groups that had visited Elena represented various interests seeking to access this information. Some were private research foundations funded by technology companies, hoping to reverse engineer ancient innovations. Others represented government agencies interested in the potential military applications of advanced energy systems. All of them viewed the knowledge as a resource to be exploited rather than wisdom to be protected. Elena felt overwhelmed by the implications of what Carmen was telling her. Her academic discovery had stumbled into a world of ancient secrets and modern conflicts that she had never imagined existed. The shy scholar who preferred books to people now found herself responsible for protecting knowledge that could transform human civilization. Carmen offered Elena a choice. She could continue her research independently and face increasing pressure from groups seeking to access her findings, or she could work with the protection network to ensure the knowledge was handled responsibly. The network included indigenous scholars, sympathetic academics, and others committed to preserving ancestral wisdom while preventing its exploitation. Elena asked about the specific dangers she faced. Carmen explained that Elena's situation was becoming precarious because her discovery was more complete than previous finds. The combination of astronomical calculations, geographical coordinates, and technological diagrams provided enough information to actually construct functional devices. Groups that had previously relied on theoretical understanding now had access to practical applications. Carmen pulled out a tablet and showed Elena satellite images of several locations marked in the Maya coordinates. Some sites showed recent excavation activity that didn't appear in any official archaeological records. Private groups were already acting on Elena's research, using her documented coordinates to locate and potentially exploit additional hidden knowledge sites. Elena realized that her careful academic approach had been insufficient to protect the information she had uncovered. By following standard research protocols and sharing her work with colleagues, she had inadvertently provided access to groups with very different motivations. The multi-layered encoding system that had protected the knowledge for centuries was being systematically bypassed by modern technology and resources. Carmen suggested that Elena create false documentation to mislead those tracking her research while preserving the authentic information in secure formats. Elena would need to become actively deceptive rather than simply cautious, a transformation that challenged everything she believed about academic integrity and scholarly transparency. Elena spent the evening in her apartment, reviewing everything Carmen had told her while examining her research materials with new understanding. The geometric patterns she had discovered weren't just historical curiosities. They were functional blueprints for technologies that could revolutionize energy production and transform global power structures. No wonder her work had attracted such intense interest so quickly. Elena made photocopies of her most sensitive research while creating modified versions that contained deliberate errors and omissions. If groups were monitoring her work, she would give them incomplete information while preserving the authentic knowledge in hidden formats. Elena found herself adopting the same protection strategies that the Maya scribes had used centuries earlier. Carmen had given Elena a secure communication device and instructions for contacting the protection network if she felt threatened. Elena hid the device in her apartment while continuing to use her regular phone and computer for routine communications. She was learning to think like someone protecting secrets rather than sharing discoveries. Elena returned to work the next morning with a new perspective on her research and its implications. The basement office that had once felt like a sanctuary now seemed like a vulnerable target. Elena began varying her schedule and routes while paying attention to who might be observing her activities. The academic world she had known was rapidly being replaced by something far more complex and dangerous. Elena's phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Foster, the woman who had visited her office. The message requested a follow-up meeting to discuss funding, opportunities, and expressed particular interest in Elena's work on geometric applications of historical mathematics. The specific terminology suggested Foster's group had gained access to more detailed information about Elena's discoveries than she had revealed. During their brief encounter, Elena stared at the message, realizing that her situation had escalated beyond academic curiosity into active surveillance and potential exploitation. The shy scholar who had spent years avoiding human interaction now found herself at the center of conflicts involving ancient wisdom and modern power struggles. Elena's discovery had opened doorways that could not be easily closed, and forces beyond her control were moving to take advantage of the knowledge she had uncovered. Elena decided not to respond to Dr. Foster's message immediately. Instead, she used Carmen's secure communication device to report the contact and ask for guidance. Carmen's response came quickly. "They're accelerating their timeline. You need to leave Stanford tonight. Pack only essentials. We'll provide everything else." Elena stared at the message, feeling her carefully constructed academic life crumbling around her. The idea of abandoning her research, her position, and the security of university life terrified her more than the abstract threats Carmen had described. Elena had spent years building her reputation and establishing herself at Stanford. Walking away would mean sacrificing everything she had worked to achieve. Carmen's next message was more urgent. "Satellite surveillance shows 3 teams converging on your location. They're not just interested in your research anymore. They want to control you. Leave now." Elena's hands trembled as she realized the gravity of her situation. The discovery that had begun as an academic breakthrough had evolved into something that threatened her personal safety. Elena grabbed essential documents, her laptop, and a few changes of clothes, stuffing everything into a backpack while trying to think clearly about what she might need. Elena left her apartment through the back exit, following a route Carmen had described that avoided main campus pathways. The normally familiar Stanford campus felt alien and threatening as Elena hurried through shadows, conscious that electronic devices might be tracking her movements. Elena had never felt more alone or more frightened. Carmen was waiting in a nondescript sedan parked near the engineering building. Elena climbed into the passenger seat, noticing that Carmen's casual academic appearance had been replaced by efficient tactical clothing and alert awareness of their surroundings. Carmen drove quickly but carefully, explaining that they would travel to a secure location where Elena could continue her research without interference. Elena asked about the groups that had been tracking her and what they ultimately wanted. Carmen explained that the ancient Maya knowledge represented potentially unlimited clean energy technology that could obsolete entire industries built around oil, coal, and traditional power generation. Groups controlling existing energy infrastructure would pay enormous sums to suppress such technology, while others would kill to control it. Carmen revealed that Elena's geometric diagrams had been analyzed by network contacts with engineering backgrounds. The crystalline structures depicted in the Maya text could theoretically generate massive amounts of energy by manipulating quantum field fluctuations. If the technology could be reproduced, it would eliminate scarcity-based economic models and transform global power structures. Elena felt sick as she realized the implications of her academic curiosity. She had uncovered information that could benefit humanity tremendously, but also destabilize existing social and economic systems. The Maya scribes had hidden this knowledge for good reason. Human societies might not be ready for technologies that could eliminate fundamental resource limitations. They drove through the night toward a destination Carmen wouldn't reveal until they arrived. Elena dozed fitfully in the passenger seat, dreaming of ancient scribes working by candlelight to encode secrets that would survive centuries of conquest and cultural destruction. Elena wondered if she possessed the wisdom to handle knowledge that had been protected for so long. Dawn found them in the mountains east of San Francisco, approaching a research facility that looked like a private retreat, but functioned as a secure center for protecting sensitive knowledge. Carmen explained that the network maintained several such locations where researchers could work on culturally sensitive projects without interference from government or corporate interests. Elena met Dr. Maria Solotl, a Nahuatl anthropologist who directed the facility's operations. Solotl had earned doctorates from both MIT and the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, specializing in indigenous knowledge systems and their applications to modern challenges. Elena felt immediately comfortable with Xolotl's respectful approach to ancient wisdom and scientific rigor. Xolotl showed Elena to a research suite equipped with advanced imaging and analysis equipment that rivaled anything available at major universities. Elena would be able to continue her work on the Maya Codex, while collaborating with other researchers who understood the importance of protecting ancient knowledge from exploitation. Elena felt simultaneously relieved and overwhelmed by the facility's resources and security. Elena spent her first week at the facility documenting everything she had discovered while learning about similar research projects being conducted by other network members. She met scholars working on Incan astronomical calculations, Egyptian engineering texts, and Aboriginal navigation systems that demonstrated advanced understanding of physics and mathematics. Elena began to understand that her Maya discovery was part of a much larger pattern of ancient technological knowledge that had been systematically hidden or destroyed throughout history. Indigenous civilizations had developed sophisticated understanding of energy, mathematics, and natural systems that challenged conventional timelines of human technological development. Dr. Xolotl introduced Elena to quantum physicist Dr. Sarah Running Bear, who had been analyzing similar geometric patterns found in other indigenous texts. Running Bear's work suggested that ancient civilizations had understood fundamental principles of quantum mechanics and energy manipulation that modern science was only beginning to rediscover through advanced research. Elena collaborated with Running Bear to build computer models based on the Maya geometric diagrams. Their preliminary results were extraordinary. The crystalline structures could theoretically tap into quantum vacuum energy and convert it to usable power with nearly perfect efficiency. If the ancient designs could be reproduced using modern materials, they could provide unlimited clean energy. Elena felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier as she realized the full potential of her discovery. The Maya hadn't just preserved historical information, they had documented functional technology that could solve humanity's energy problems while eliminating environmental destruction caused by fossil fuels. Yet the same technology could destabilize existing social structures and create new forms of conflict and inequality. Elena's secure communication device buzzed with messages from colleagues at Stanford asking about her sudden absence. Dr. Morrison had reported her missing, and university administration was asking questions about her research status and the sensitive materials in her office. Elena realized she couldn't maintain her previous life while protecting the knowledge she had uncovered. Carmen informed Elena that surveillance teams had searched her Stanford office and apartment, confirming that multiple groups were actively pursuing her research. The false documentation Elena had created seemed to be misleading some pursuers, but others had sophisticated enough resources to recognize the deception and continue tracking her genuine work. Elena faced a fundamental choice about her future. She could attempt to return to academic life by releasing limited information about her discovery, while concealing the most sensitive technological applications. Alternatively, she could commit fully to the protection network and work to ensure the ancient knowledge was used responsibly, rather than exploited for profit or control. Elena thought about her grandmother's stories and the wisdom of ancestors who had preserved sacred knowledge through centuries of persecution and cultural destruction. The shy scholar who had preferred solitude and safety was being called to protect information that could transform human civilization. Elena realized that some discoveries carried responsibilities that extended far beyond personal academic achievement. Elena made her decision. She would stay with the protection network and work to ensure the Maya knowledge was shared in ways that benefited humanity while preventing its exploitation by groups seeking profit or power. The academic career she had planned was over, but Elena was beginning a new role as guardian of ancient wisdom that could help solve modern challenges. 2 years later, Elena stood before a gathering of indigenous leaders, scientists, and environmental activists in a conference center nestled in the Guatemala highlands. The shy scholar who had once feared speaking to colleagues now addressed international audiences about responsible knowledge stewardship and sustainable technology development. Elena's transformation had been as remarkable as her discovery. Elena had spent those 2 years working with the Protection Network to develop applications of Maya energy technology that could benefit communities without creating new forms of exploitation or environmental destruction. Working with Dr. Running Bear and engineers from various indigenous communities, Elena had helped create small-scale energy systems based on the ancient crystalline designs. The technology had been tested in remote villages throughout Central and South America, providing clean electricity to communities that had never had reliable power access. Elena watched solar panels and wind turbines being supplemented by devices that seemed to generate energy from empty space itself, using principles that ancient Maya scribes had encoded in bark paper centuries earlier. Elena's research had expanded beyond the original Stanford Codex. Working with the Protection Network, she had gained access to additional Maya sites and artifacts that contained complementary information. Elena learned that the knowledge preservation system had been even more sophisticated than she had initially realized, with multiple backup sites and cross-referencing systems that ensured information survival across centuries. Elena had also discovered that other researchers worldwide were working on similar projects, combining ancient knowledge with modern understanding to develop sustainable technologies. Aboriginal Australians had preserved information about Earth energy systems. African civilizations had documented water purification methods using crystalline structures, and Native American tribes maintained knowledge about plant-based materials with extraordinary properties. Elena's role had evolved from researcher to coordinator, helping connect various groups working to protect and responsibly apply ancestral knowledge. Elena traveled between research facilities, indigenous communities, and university partnerships, building networks that honored traditional wisdom while advancing technological understanding. The conference in Guatemala represented a milestone in Elena's work. Representatives from dozens of indigenous communities were sharing knowledge that had been protected for generations, while scientists and engineers demonstrated how ancient understanding could address modern challenges. Elena felt proud of her role in facilitating these connections while ensuring that communities retained control over their ancestral wisdom. Elena presented her latest research findings to the conference attendees, describing how Maya energy systems could be scaled up to provide clean power for entire regions without creating centralized control points that could be exploited by corporations or governments. The technology's quantum-based principles made it inherently democratic. Anyone with access to the proper materials and knowledge could build functional energy generation systems. Elena's presentation included security protocols that the Protection Network had developed to prevent knowledge misuse. Rather than completely concealing technological information, Elena advocated for selective sharing that empowered communities while preventing exploitation by groups seeking profit or control. Elena had learned to balance transparency with protection, sharing enough information to enable beneficial applications while concealing details that could enable destructive uses. During the conference, Elena met Dr. James Chen, a former colleague from Stanford who had been tracking her work through academic networks. Chen had left university research to work with environmental organizations, using his engineering background to develop sustainable technology solutions. Elena felt comfortable reconnecting with Chen because his motivations aligned with the Protection Network's values. Chen informed Elena that her departure from Stanford had sparked significant interest in Maya technological research, with multiple universities and private organizations launching investigations into hidden knowledge systems. Some research was being conducted responsibly with indigenous community involvement, while other projects seemed focused purely on technological exploitation without regard for cultural sensitivity. Elena learned that the groups that had originally pursued her were still active, though they had shifted their focus to other researchers and sites after losing track of Elena's authentic work. The false documentation Elena had created continued to mislead some pursuers. While the protection network had successfully concealed the genuine technological applications Elena had discovered, Elena's former Stanford colleagues had published papers based on the limited information she had shared before leaving. Achieving significant recognition for discovering Maya, astronomical and mathematical sophistication, Elena felt no resentment about others receiving credit for her initial work. The important discoveries remained protected, while the academic community gained appreciation for Maya intellectual achievements. Elena's personal life had also been transformed by her experiences. The isolation and anxiety that had characterized her university years had been replaced by confidence and purpose, derived from working with communities that valued her contributions. Elena had found belonging among people who understood the responsibility that came with protecting sacred knowledge. Elena had maintained contact with her grandmother, sharing stories about her work in ways that honored family traditions of knowledge protection. Elena's grandmother expressed pride in seeing ancestral wisdom being preserved and applied to help modern communities, validating Elena's decision to leave academic security for more meaningful but uncertain work. Elena's relationship with Carmen had evolved into close friendship and professional partnership. Carmen's extensive experience with knowledge protection had taught Elena practical skills for navigating complex political and security challenges, while Elena's research abilities had enhanced the network's capacity for analyzing and applying ancient technologies. Elena reflected on the journey that had brought her from a basement office at Stanford to international conferences addressing global sustainability challenges. The shy scholar who had discovered hidden Maya texts had become a guardian of ancient wisdom and advocate for responsible technological development. Elena's transformation demonstrated that individual discoveries could catalyze much larger changes when approached with wisdom and courage. Elena concluded her conference presentation by announcing the next phase of her work. The Protection Network had decided to establish a new research center in the Guatemala highlands, where indigenous communities, academic researchers, and environmental advocates could collaborate on developing sustainable technologies based on ancestral knowledge. Elena would direct the center's operations while continuing her research into other hidden knowledge systems. Elena's story had become an example of how individual curiosity and cultural sensitivity could unlock solutions to global challenges while respecting the wisdom of ancestors who had preserved crucial knowledge across centuries of persecution and cultural destruction. The shy Stanford scholar had found her voice and her purpose, demonstrating that the most important discoveries often required not just intellectual brilliance but also courage to protect and responsibly share knowledge that could transform human civilization. As Elena left the conference to begin preparations for the new research center, she carried with her the satisfaction of knowing that ancient Maya wisdom would continue to benefit humanity while remaining protected from exploitation. Elena's discovery had revealed not just historical information, but living knowledge that could help create a more sustainable and equitable future for all people.